So how do you know this?
That was close to straight. He is charming. He is able to convince people. It's very much like Clinton. Both Bill and Donald have the ability to go over to a fat, ugly woman, say, "You are the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." So he tells everybody what they want to hear. Not everyone's charming.
Just days before the election, journalist Michael Wolff released audio that you just heard, and it's exclusive to him, that showed Jeffrey Epstein talking about details and his relationship with Donald Trump, the former president. Wolff, who wrote 3 books about Donald Trump's first term in office, said the audio tapes were, to his recollection, recorded in 2017 while discussing a potential Epstein biography. He began releasing the recordings last Thursday after Stacey Williams came forward to discuss the abuse that she had endured at the hands of Donald Trump. Wolff says the excerpt is a mere fraction of some 100 hours of Epstein talking about the inner workings of the Trump White House and about his long-standing deep relationship with Donald Trump that he claims to have. Speaking on the podcast, Wolff said of Trump and Epstein, "Here are these 2 guys, both driven by a need to do anything they wanted with women, dominance and submission and entertainment. And one of them ends up in the darkest prison in the country and the other in the White House." As the Daily Beast puts it, Epstein painted a complicated portrait of Trump on these recordings, calling him charming and a good salesman, but also a user and a serial cheat. Take a look.
So just tell me about his intelligence.
With respect to real estate deals, he's brilliant. He's a salesman. He knows real estate really well. Anything else but that, he knows nothing. So the idea that he is that bad, dirty business, he's a construction person in New York City, an electrician in the county. I have no idea what to think. But he's a horrible human being. In Jeffrey's book, he does nasty things to his best friends' wives. Anyone who first tries to gain your trust and then uses it to do bad things. That's how it goes.
Now, on one occasion, Epstein alleged Trump took a woman to what he called the Egyptian room in an Atlantic City casino. Epstein alleged he came out afterward and said, "It was great. It was great. The only thing I really like to do is blank the wives of my best friends. That is just the best." Additionally, Epstein alleged Trump had very detailed and elaborate schemes to get his friends' wives to sleep with him. He would call the men into his Trump Tower office to ask them about their sex lives and offer them sex with beauty pageant contestants, the pedophile said. He would do this while the wives were, unbeknownst to their husbands, listening on speakerphone so that he could then seduce the wives on the basis their husbands had betrayed them, Epstein claimed. Epstein then uses Wolff and his wife Victoria as an example to describe how Trump goes about with this ploy. Take a look.
Donald's office, as you know, he made that call. He used to be on the phone as a fake PR person. I also found it funny. I was sitting there listening to the guys from the Post talk, and Donald would say, he's a great guy. I loved working with him. And I sit there going, this is just amazing. And he'd say, "Michael, come on, let's go to the office." And he'd say, "Tell me, what's it like in there?" He'd say, "You like having sex with your wife? How often do you?" He'd say, "It's great." Seriously, Michael, how often do you have sex? I mean, don't you want to? You and I can go upstairs, or tomorrow come over. There's this girl's coming in from Los Angeles, part of the Hawaiian Tropic contest. So come over with your car. You're gonna have a great time. I promise you, Michael. You know, it's just me and you. You're gonna have a great time. Be up here at 3 o'clock. We can go upstairs. The whole time, Victoria's been on the phone, listening, setting it up because he wants a story.
Now, Cenk, there is more recordings that we're going to get into, but I want to bring you in here. I mean, what do you make of this? Is there any part of you that even doubts what Epstein is saying? Should we proceed with caution here?
Yeah, I don't doubt what Epstein's saying there, if that's Epstein. There is a portion of me that doubts the story overall. So Michael Wolff is not proven perfectly reliable in the past. He was considered reliable for a long time, but the last couple of things he did, there were some errors in there that were pretty bad. So I say grain of salt on this one. On top of that, there's this weird thing that you mentioned there, where he says he has hundreds of hours of Epstein talking about Donald Trump's White House, and there's just a snippet of it. You never went through those hundreds of hours? You don't have more than just a snippet? And you just did this at the last second before the election? You didn't take the last 4 years to go through that? You didn't go through that earlier? You didn't go through that when Epstein died in prison? So that's super weird. And so I'm just acknowledging that. But the bottom line is, Jordan, it doesn't really matter because the two biggest parts of the story are already public knowledge. One is his close friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. In this tapes, he says, Donald and him were the closest friends for 10 years. But I'm going to read to you the quote that I've read many times now, in case there's somebody in the audience that hasn't seen it, because a lot of people don't know. Donald Trump said back in 2002 that they were really, really good friends. And this is, so you don't need these tapes to know this. Trump said at the time, quote, "I've known Jeff for 15 years, terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." So he knew, everybody knew Trump and him were great friends. Trump even knew that he liked young girls. And like an idiot, admitted it, because that's what he always does. So the second thing we got out of these tapes that was already public knowledge too, is how Donald Trump gains your confidence and then betrays you. Well, that's what a con man does. It's short for confidence man. They gain your confidence and then they use it to screw you over for their own benefit. The story of how he did that with his friends, with the trick on the phone, he gets the wife on the phone, on the speakerphone. The guy doesn't know it. He brings his friend in, talks about having sex with girls. The wife is outraged, and then he tries to sleep with the wife. That story was also known earlier, reported earlier. And so that's who he is. And look, guys, if one of your best friends did that move on you, what would you think of him? I mean, that's the worst guy in the world, right? Like the skeeviest, cheesiest piece of crap you've ever seen. You think he's your friend, a really, really good friend, and meanwhile, he tries to get you to have an affair which you weren't inclined to have, and so that he could have sex with your wife. And that's really a pretty good analogy for how he thinks of America. And especially MAGA. MAGA, he's gonna gain your confidence and then betray you for his own purposes. Yeah, that's Trump 101. So at the end of the day, even though it sounds explosive and it's an October surprise and it's right before the election, it's not much new information, Jordan.
Yeah, that was my take when this stuff first started to come out. First, and to your point, I don't think we should discount that. Like, why is he sitting on this for so long? If he recorded it in 2017, I hate that. People like hold on to stuff for a personal project later. With all respect to Bob Woodward for his legacy and his work, like holding on to things about Trump's behavior during COVID or Trump's decisions that had real tangible harm until later when he was going to publish his book. I don't know. That doesn't sit well with me. A lot of reporters will justify it because that's how they make money on the side and they need it. Reporters aren't appreciated. Of course, it's a dying industry. But when it's in the public interest, it starts to rub me the wrong way. So, like I said, this isn't the only thing. He also revealed information to Wolff that allegedly revealed the inner workings of the Trump White House. Take a look.
His people fight each other.
Right.
And then have outsiders. He sort of poisons the well outside. He will tell 10 people Bannon's a scumbag and Priest is not doing a good job and Kelly has a big mouth. And what do you think? Jamie Dimon says you're a problem and I shouldn't keep you. And I spoke to Carl Icahn, and Carl thinks I need a new spokesperson. So Kelly, even though I hired Kellyanne's husband, Kellyanne's just too much of a wild card. And then he tells Bannon, I really want to keep you, but Kellyanne hates you.
According to the Daily Beast, Wolff also stated Thursday that Epstein showed him photos of Trump with topless young women sitting in his lap. Unsurprisingly, the Trump campaign rejected all claims, calling Wolff disgraced and lacking morals. Quote, he waited until days before the election to make outlandish false smears, all in an effort to engage in blatant election interference on behalf of Kamala Harris. He's a failed journalist that is resorting to lying for attention. Cenk, I mean, you mentioned earlier, Michael Wolff has credibility issues. Is he the right person to report this story? I mean, does that help the Trump campaign in this situation?
Yeah, but again, there's absolutely nothing new here. So yeah, so if this is a story that the Trump camp says you should ignore, that's normally I'd say get out of here. The Trump camp's full of crap on everything, but not this one. I get it. Is it problematic to do it a couple of days before the election? Of course. Is it done a couple of days before the election on purpose? Of course. Is it Michael Wolff trying to get attention? Yes, all those things. But look at that so-called revelation there about how Trump gets his own team to fight each other and talks crap behind the scenes about each one of them to each other and gets them to hate each other. Yeah, that's another thing that was already known. And that is why Donald Trump is the world's worst manager. If you've ever been a manager, I can't think of anything more unproductive and counterproductive. That is so monumentally dumb to do that. That's why everyone was constantly fighting inside the White House. Everyone was constantly leaking to try to gain an advantage. He's a moron of epic proportions. He's a terrible guy and he's a moron, but we already knew that. So the word Epstein has big cachet here, and that's why a lot of people are paying attention to the story. I get it, and I wanted to make sure you guys heard the tapes for yourselves. But at the end of the day, I don't think this moves things very much. It's just, but like the only thing I'll say is the same thing I've said throughout. The QAnon guys, the MAGA guys, everybody that was so mad about Epstein, you're right to be that mad. He's one of the worst, child molesters in this country. But it never bothered you that him and Donald Trump were the closest friends, that Trump knew that he was having sex with younger women. And when his co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell was caught and in prison, Donald Trump was president, and they said, what do you think about it? She said, I like her. I wish her well. That's after Epstein had already killed himself. And then we catch his co-conspirator and he's like, I wish her well. Who says that? So if you don't know that him and Epstein were friends and they did things with women together, you're just lying to yourself. That was already public knowledge. That doesn't mean that Trump did something with younger women. We don't know that, okay? But we do know that they partied together and did, questionable things with women overall. None of that is news here. So if you didn't know, now you know. But otherwise, not as big a news story as Michael Wolff would like to hype.
Yeah, and there was one other thing. So you're talking about the turmoil and the culture within the Trump orbit, the campaign, the White House. I would encourage people to read Tim Alberta's piece in the Atlantic from this weekend. Not only is that unsurprisingly still the way that Trump develops a culture on his campaign, it is hysterical. It is one of the funniest reads I've sat down with in a while, and it's so bad right now on that campaign that many people who work on the campaign are refusing to join the potential transition team, or if he wins, the Trump White House. It is so unbelievably toxic, and it's a very, very enjoyable read.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that All you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.